Hello everybody, my name is Ilya.
And my name is Tyler. Together we make up Kovray, a couple that loves to play board games.
I'm really sweaty today.
It's really warm out.
But maybe it's because we're going to...
the Savannah Park? Wow!
Welcome to our Check It Out series. Basically, this is where we showcase various games, tell you a little bit about them, and hopes of inspiring you to play them. Or check them out for yourself.
Or try them yourself, exactly. Yeah. Savannah Park is published by Capstone Games Family and Deep Print Games. It's designed by Michael Kiesling and Wolfgang Kramer.
Ooh, that's a strong design combo over there. In this game, you'll be building your own Savannah Park. You'll basically move the animals and hope to put them in ways that will generate you the most
points.
Exactly. Well, let's jump in and give you a quick overview of
how to play.
As always, you'll begin by setting up. You'll take the park with a meerkat burrow of your color and place it in front of you. You'll then shuffle the 33 animal tokens and place them in a stack. Then you'll disperse the animals onto your board, starting from the top left to the bottom right. You'll cover each of the sand spaces only once, making sure not to cover the rocks, the bushfires, the tree, and the grass spaces. You'll be left with 2 animals, and those 2 you'll place on 2 of the 6 grass spaces you have of your choice. You'll then place your meerkat in its burrow. Now next, you'll put the scoreboard at the center of the table with each player's ranger on the 0 space. You're now ready to begin. Now your goal is to score the most points by collecting animals adjacent to each other, as well as having watering holes within those groups. Now this game is played in several rounds, and each round has 2 steps. Number 1, the starting player chooses the token that everyone must move, and number 2, everyone moves the chosen animal token in their park. Now part of step 1 is choosing a face up, so the yellow side showing animal token in your park. You'll pick it up, identify it clearly to all the other players, and put the meerkat on the space from where you took the tile. Then everyone else will locate that tile within their board, pick it up, and move it, which is step 2. You'll turn your token over and place it with its back facing up. You'll place it on either an empty sand space, tree space, or grass space. Now it's important to note that the sand, grass, and tree spaces can only hold 1 animal token each, and the rock and bushfire spaces will never be covered throughout the game. Afterwards, you'll move your meerkat back to its burrow. Its function is to remind you that you can't place the tile from where you picked it up from. And that's essentially the game. You'll keep playing until all the animal tokens have been turned over and moved. And then it's time for scoring. You can use the line to track the different scoring sections. The first 3 categories deal with bushfires. If there's a certain animal tokens in the 6 spaces bordering each of the bushfires, these tokens will be removed. For example, in the small bushfire, there's only 1 tree. So if there's any single animals around it, those animals will be removed. And that goes for the medium and the big bushfire as well. In the medium, if there's any 2 animals around it, they'll be removed. And in the big bushfire, if there's exactly 3 animals around it, they'll be removed as well. These animals will not be scored. Then you'll score points for grass and trees. 1 point for any uncovered grass and 3 for any uncovered tree. Now you're ready for the bulk of your scoring, which is the animals. For each species, you'll score the most valuable herd. Now a herd is a group of contiguous animals that are attached to each other. And they're scored if they contain a watering hole within the contiguous group. The more, the better. The way that the points will work is you'll multiply the number of animals in that group by the number of watering holes, and that will be your score for the species. Then you'll do this for each of the 6 species. And as a reminder, it doesn't matter what other animals are on these tokens, as long as at least 1 animal of the species to be scored is present. So there will be overlaps. Now once all the species and categories have been scored, you'll look at the scoring track, and the player with the most points wins. Will your animals be the happiest with their watering holes?
So what do you think?
I was surprised by this game, I think. Because in essence, it looks very simple, and it looks fairly... I guess it doesn't look as fun as it is, in my opinion.
Wow.
I think when I first played it, I think my expectations weren't as high. But then going through that crunchy decision-making process and really making those decisions, trying to pick which tile I want to benefit me while kind of paying attention to everybody else, There's a lot of game in like the simplistic mechanic that this is.
Yeah, you could go as far as like very much monitoring what other people are doing. You don't have to, but when you do play this game, it's like pretty grindy, surprisingly grindy. But I wouldn't say I was like taken back by the game. I was like I was really happy with it because I knew it was like a tile placement, like tile arrangement game, and it was about animals, so it like got me right off the bat. We started playing it and I was like, this is not what I expected, but it's better than I expected, and I already had high hopes for it. So
I don't think I actually had any expectations, is what I was trying to say, because I didn't know much about the game. I just knew that I saw a meerkat and some beautiful lions, and I'm like, this may be a game for me.
It's funny because meerkats and lions aren't like
the primary animals in this.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into our comparables. What would you compare this game to?
I'm gonna say Karuba by Habit Games.
Okay.
Yeah, and essentially the reason I'm saying that is it's kind of like guided by players. So in Karuba, what you have to do is like pick a tile randomly, and then everybody has to place that tile. It's always led by the same individual for the whole game, but Savannah Park is different in that everybody's boards are different, and then each player takes a turn choosing the tile that they would like everybody to move. And I think it's like a step up from Karuba. It's
not random, now it's player kind of guided.
Yeah, and it is still kind of random because of the way that your board is set up. So it can be kind of tough to like adjust based on what you're saying, and I'm like, oh, well, mine's already in a good spot, or like I'm one turn away from making it to be in a good spot kind of thing. So Karuba really like compares to this, I think, for me.
I like that. I think this is like a step up from Karuba, in my opinion.
Yeah. How about you? What's your comparable?
Mine is a little bit different, so I focus more on the scoring element.
Okay.
So I chose King Domino.
Oh yeah, I can see that right away.
So because the animals are scored, you need the most animals and multiplied by the watering holes. It's kind of the same mechanism as the crowns in King Domino. So you may have a ton of land, of sheep, but if there's no crowns, then, or only one crown, that's not a ton of points.
Yeah, that's
so you really want to maximize the watering holes, which becomes really tricky because a lot of the watering holes have multiple animals on them. So you have to kind of connect them, and that makes it, it puts a different twist on it, which I really like.
Yeah, there's like that one tile that has literally every animal on it, and
the central tile.
Yeah, and it feels really good when you can get it into the center, but other times like you're fumbling with your fingers or puzzles trying to like get it all the way to one side.
Well, and the chance of connecting it to all the animals are just, it's very slim. It's doable, but
it does
slim.
feel good when you get like a chain of 3 pawns like just connected together by the same animal. That feels really good.
So that's our comparables.
All right, so why would somebody want to check Savannah Park out?
Well, the strong point that this game has for it is that it's simultaneous play. So you're not waiting for someone to finish their turn. It's always choosing an animal, and then everyone kind of goes and places that exact animal tile. Now, where there is a little bit of waiting is if someone takes a little bit longer to kind of figure out and decide where to place their animal.
Very true.
But as soon as that happens, you can strategize of which animal are you going to move next, or which one are you going to call. And you're always involved in the game, which I really like, especially as a approachable or entryway game, because I think that time in between turns can sometimes really lose people.
Yeah, there's like a distraction period where you just like fall out of the game sometimes. I agree. I think that's a really good point. And yeah, like it does feel like sometimes when you're playing, if individuals take too long to make their decision, it can maybe get there. But at the same time, like there is so many limited spaces to be able to actually place your tiles that like you have to make a decision, and sometimes it's not going to be the greatest decision, but like you know where you can't place. It's not like a look at the board and say, oh, I could put it off of the board attached to this and it would get me extra points. It's not like that.
Because you don't want to cover the grass or the trees. So essentially you do want to kind of cover the sand spaces. And at the very last resort, cover the grass and the trees. So I think there's not as much, I guess, analysis by paralysis. Paralysis by analysis. I always get that wrong.
I always do.
So because of the kind of the small decisions that you have, or the limited amount of spaces that you actually do have to work with.
Yeah, decisions feel a bit more streamlined in this game, so it's kind of nice. Yeah.
What are some of the other reasons people should check it out?
I'll probably just like say the obvious ones. If you're like interested in games that are animal themed, like this one is definitely good for you.
It's animal themed?
Yeah. I think the other thing about this game is the mechanics are like pretty straightforward, which means it's easy to get to the table, it's easy to teach. It is a brain burner sometimes, so if you like those types of games with like a flair of abstract type strategy, I think this is a great game for somebody to check it out. And then the other thing that I can't remember a whole lot about, but you could probably talk more about this, is like the variability of the actual game. It does exist in this game, so you can make it harder for yourself, you can spin it around and make more decisions with it, but yeah, I'll let you talk
there's
about
lions, so you can have a variant with lions. So basically, the lions will start in the grass space, but then they'll move as you place tiles on that space, and it'll require you more points. So basically the lions give you incentive to use those spaces, which is interesting. There's also a kids-friendly version that kind of simplifies the game a little bit. There's also a way to move around this variable startup. So there's a lot of variability in this game too, and it kind of scales up. But it was funny because you said the complexity and kind of the mechanics, and I was thinking to myself that setting up this game, explaining how to set it up, is almost more difficult than actually explaining how to play it, because of like placing the tiles in certain spots, but make sure it's random, but make sure it's not this. Because in essence, like, it's fairly easy to just be, everyone grab this tile,
and move it,
flip it over, move it to an empty spot, and then you kind of see those connections right away, and it becomes quite interesting.
Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about why people should check it out.
It's a great puzzle.
Yeah, it is a great puzzle. I love it.
So why shouldn't you check it out?
This one, for why you shouldn't check it out, I think is like the forward thinking, like planning ahead aspect of it can be frustrating. So like there's two sides of this that I'll say, is if you're really like nitpicky and want to plan ahead and make sure that it's like your like ideal Savannah Park, maybe not a game for you to try, because it's not always going to go your way.
I think what I'll say is this one, when we first played it, really made my brain explode a little bit away. The main reason being so is that the tiles that are not covered will not stay in the spaces that they are. Yeah, so sometimes you'll place a tile, it's like, oh, it's next to these rhinos and it's good and there's a watering hole, but you have to remember that if the tiles are not flipped over, then they're going to move. And sure, they can move and switch spots, but that level of spatial thinking I've not seen in a game yet, and it really pushed my brain to be more, because at first I'm like, oh, I have this, and it happens in the game, I'm like, no, I'm doing terrible. So like I think there's that really good learning curve moment, but if spatial games and that kind of like awareness is not your forte and you get frustrated by it, I think this takes it to the next level. So if you avoid those games already,
I never really thought about it like that, because I was more like just basing it on color. Like I would look at color and then look at animals, so like then I'd understand. You just basically have to think your game is a clean slate with the limitations of not being able to.
I can do that. I got distracted by all the tiles.
Yeah. But like my other point to the forward thinking thing is like, because you don't have a say, like you, especially in a 4-player game, you have a say in one of every 4 tiles. So you have no idea what other people are going to call. Maybe they're going to call one that benefits you, maybe they're not. But like at the end of the day, you can't control what they're going to do. And if that's something that irks you in games that may eventually like come back to you to like bite your score in the butt, then might not be a game worth checking out.
Yeah, it's definitely a test of adaptability and resilience.
Exactly, yeah.
But overall, what do we think?
I really like this game. It fits like in the family of like Calico, Cascadia, like those types of games. Obviously, like I compared it to Karuba for, well, obvious reasons. But I think like when I think about this game, like you could make a night out of like Savannah Park, Calico, Cascadia, like those types of games.
Hexagonal tile placement.
Exactly. And I think that there's like a special place for this game. It's different and unique enough from all the other like games that I just mentioned that I actually will choose this game over some other games like Calico or Cascadia sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's what I was gonna say too, is there's not really a game that captures everything that this game does. Like there's elements here and there's pieces here and there, but it's very unique in a way, and it captures that feeling of that tension, that Is this gonna work out? Because it's also a puzzle. So like eventually you could have something that looks absolutely beautiful and flawless and feel really good, or everything could just go down in flames and the bushfires have spread and everything is just gone.
Yeah.
So I think that element of it is really interesting and it draws me to it every time, and that's why I enjoy Savannah Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now for our question of the day.
Boom. There are 6 different animals in this. I have them written down. There's a rhino, an ostrich, a giraffe, an elephant, a zebra, and an antelope. Out of those 6, which one are you choosing and why?
Or are you choosing the meerkat or the lion?
Can't give them more options.
More options. I'm choosing the meerkat.
I knew you were going to say that.
The meerkat's so cute.
I'm going to stick to the original question.
Who are you choosing?
I'm picking an elephant because I think it's funny that they think we're cute.
How do you know they think we're cute?
Oh, there's a thing that goes off in their brain that like is comparable to when we see dogs or something like that. And
that makes me happy.
Yeah, and then they just get like excited and like, oh my god, that's so cute. But obviously like elephants don't say that. But that's what
Fun facts with Tyler.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for watching. You know what to do. Hit that thumbs up, that bell notification, that subscribe. All the little clicks that you do on our channel help us a lot and help us grow and flourish in this wonderful board game space and community with you.
Exactly. And as you all know, we love talking about board games and we love having people to talk to them about. So leave us comments down below. Have you played this game? Answer our question of the day. What game does this remind you of? Those types of things. We're always happy to join the conversations.
And are you sweaty today?
You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Bye!
Yeah.